Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Your Place or Mine, a new romantic comedy from Netflix and writer-director Aileen Brosh McKenna, who created My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend with Rachel Bloom, who pops up here in this film in a small supporting role, but this focuses on Debbie and Peter, played by Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher, who slept together years ago and have been best friends ever since, but they live across the country in LA and New York, and because of circumstances, they wind up staying at each other's homes at the same time. So you have Debbie out in LA taking this class and winds up befriending an ex of Peter's, played by Zoe Chow, who's fantastic in this movie. Absolutely hilarious. She just has this energy and vibe about her. And then you have Peter, who's now helping take care of Jack, who's Debbie's son, played by Wesley Kimmel, who I enjoyed their dynamic. Throughout this film, I think they have some solid work together. They mesh well together. They help build each other up, and she just so happens to have this guy living next door, Zen, who takes care of her garden, played by Steve Zahn, who's this quirky, weird character. And you have Tig Notaro, who plays a friend of theirs who's kind of keeping an eye on Peter and keeping an eye on Debbie's son. And you have these dynamics. They each have their own storylines. This movie does push in 2 hours. And there's some storylines and characters that probably could have been cut. Probably weren't necessary, or at least not necessarily spend so much time on. I think the film does have a decent pace to it. It is very workmanlike from that director perspective, and it's not exactly the most engaging visually or style-wise. It's not the boldest film out there, and it also leans into a lot of rom-com tropes. By the end, they're just quoting the book. Basically, the dialogue is so stale, and you see it coming a mile away. From the very start, I'm like, I know exactly how this movie's going to go. I know who's going to wind up with each other. And it's that kind of film where there's not going to be a whole lot of surprises there. I do wish that this didn't spend so much time on so many different storylines, and also that it didn't spend so much time on these stereotypical ones, these very tropey ideas into these rom-coms, which the whole last scene, main scene, takes place in an airport. Of course it does. It feels very big and broad and melodramatic, and it goes for some very casual and straightforward laughs that aren't the most engaging, but I do think Kutcher and Witherspoon have strong chemistry together. I like their dynamic. I think they bounce off of each other well, and I'm rooting for them on some level by the end to hopefully be together. And I think this rom-com has elements that work and has to offer, but it's not the most interesting or dynamic or new or fresh one to go with. So I recommend this if you're really into those rom-coms and just general romances. I think it has its elements. It has a little sense of mystery, pulling back the layers of they're best friends and talk on the phone every day, but what things are being kept from each other. And you get to see those things play out in this film in a fun and engaging kind of way. It does have its flaws, and they're pretty apparent, but this is a real rock-solid flick that I think enough people will get some enjoyment on Netflix. But those are my thoughts on Your Place or Mine. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.